I find that I'm successful with checklists, that I find that if I don't schedule things and I don't write things down, that I fill the time with other meaningless tasks that don't matter as much. And I know that I think probably a lot of people do that, that it's easy to complete something, and if you don't have something else staring you in the face as to this is now what I need to focus on, you can end up wasting time on time cards or, stupid emails that don't matter as much or whatever. And so I really sat down and made a big to-do list on things that I wanted to do that were both related to viewer advocacy and unrelated to viewer advocacy, where there was things that had just been swirling around in my head that I needed to get done at the station one way or the other. And so I found that kept me on task, that I was always looking at this list, and I really, I'm one of those people that gets a charge out of checking things off of a to-do list and being able to actually cross something off. And so I started and broke it all into pieces where it's focusing on questions on tape and focusing on not officials, but real people. And people here had already heard that. Now, not the questions on tape. They hadn't heard that, but they had heard, let's not talk to officials. And but it's one of those things where we vacillate back and forth on it, and I even was trading emails with Bob last week about how there is some level of wanting to be transparent and showing people how we arrived at our answer, but we don't always have to do it with putting an official on screen. And so it was definitely holding people accountable, I think, is a huge part of it, when they are coming back with officials. But more than that, it's talking about it in the morning meeting. And I know that I frequently, when people are pitching stuff, I'm saying, okay, but what's your video? Or, okay, but who are you going to talk to? And sometimes, there are stories that sound great, as you know, but they're print stories, or we just can't support them with the video. And so unless we have a good way to do that, we're trying to move on. And then that brings us also to the officials. And if it's a story where it gives us the opportunity to ask an official a question or hold them accountable somehow, great. But if it's not, then let's just talk to the official over the phone. Let's get the information from them, and let's not even waste our time going to their office and setting up something for them to do when we can spend our time finding the real person that is affected by that. And so I think I started small, where that became a regular habit, that when people were coming back with officials, it wasn't just ignored. It was, discussed, and it was discussed prior, and then if they still came back with that, we talked about, we're just not even going to use it in a story, and now you're, wasting everybody else's time, as far as your VOSOT is now a VO, and whatever. And then once we really established that, I think we were able to even more focus on the questions on tape, and asking people, then I give people the opportunity to tell me what their questions are going to be before they go out the door. And we discuss those too, and I give them suggested questions as well. And so then they're equipped with those and head out the door. But I would say that if anything, I've found that breaking it down, realizing that it's, one of those things that Rome wasn't built in a day, and that I'm not going to get this done tomorrow, but I can do it slowly, and I can also focus on people one by one, and take a closer look at certain people who are failing on the brand, and sit down with them and talk about what they want in the future, because I know that as managers, we never seem to give enough feedback, that people always want more feedback than we really even give. And so even pulling somebody in my office and talking to them one-on-one about that story or the stories they've done in the last week, I've found that they've been really receptive to that, and I've seen a change, and they've appreciated that attention, that, oh, you're so busy, and oh, there's so many people, but wow, you've noticed what I've done, you've watched my stand-ups, and, you've thought about this, and now you have this suggestion. Wow, I mean something. Okay, and I think it makes them want to perform.